He simply knelt patiently, and eventually it was Danny who made the signal to Mr. Cogwell. The gatekeeper nodded back. "That's enough, ladies and gentlemen. Boys and girls, Maharajah needs his rest, but if you make your way to the elephant enclosure later today, you'll see him again." He waved a fan of folded paper above his head. "Now, can I recommend one of our illustrated maps, yours for only a halfpenny? The 1872 guide to all the great wonders of the park, the cobras, the camels, the cockatoos, and of course, our new Nile crocodile, Cleopatra." Mr. Cogwell's voice faded into the distance as Danny led Maharajah down the tree-lined avenue that cut across Belle Vue, past the lions and tigers pacing in their cages, past the monkeys chattering in the ape house, and past the brick-walled pit where the great Siberian bear reared up on his huge hind legs to glare at them. At the end of the avenue, a stone archway led into the Italian gardens. Danny ducked inside, guiding Maharajah into the shade of a giant palm. Immediately, the elephant lifted his trunk to pull down a branch and chew through the leaves. Dropping the harness, Danny glanced around. Good. The gardens were empty. Hurriedly, he untied the purple cloak, then tugged off the feathered turban. The slippers would have to stay, but he stuffed the rest of the clothes into a bag slung across Maharajah's back. It felt ridiculously good to get rid of the costume. "Oi, you, boy." Danny turned, and all his good humour vanished. Tom Dalton was striding down the path towards him, shoulders wide, every step a swagger. Tom was the grandson of one of Mr. Jameson's most trusted workers. He was also the only person who'd never welcomed Danny to Belle Vue. "I've a message from Mr. Jameson. He needs to speak to you. Says it's important." "Where?" Danny's chest tightened, and he had to stop to take a breath. For most of his life, he'd been mute, unable to talk. And even though his voice had returned, speech still didn't come easily. Where is he? Mr. Jameson, where is he now?" Danny hated that his words stumbled into each other, and he hated it even more when Tom's lips curled into a sneer. They might be a similar age, but they had little in common. While Danny was slight and scrawny, a brown-skinned boy still growing into his bones, Tom was big and broad, with a shock of fair hair and all the confidence of height and muscle. "Calm down. No need to get so excited." Tom's sneer deepened. "He's over by the lake, on the shore opposite Firework Island. But you better get a move on. He said you're to be quick." Danny heard Mr. Jameson before he saw him. His voice boomed out from among a group of finely dressed gentlemen. They stood, poised like penguins, on a platform jutting into the boating lake. "And let me say again, my dear sirs, you won't regret putting your money into Belle Vue. This is going to be the biggest show you've ever seen. Prince Dandip and the fight for Flamenca. A rip-roaring reenactment of one of the greatest battles of our time, told in 20 minutes, and all for only 2 shillings. A pause. Or a half-crown after 4 o'clock. As Danny walked nearer, the group parted. A stout, solid man in a bright red waistcoat stood in the centre, gesturing furiously. James Frederick Henry Jameson, owner of the Belle Vue Zoological Gardens, and, as usual, he was weaving a plan. "Now, take a look over there." Mr. Jameson stabbed a finger across the lake, and the men swivelled to follow his direction. "You see that island? We're staging the whole show right there. It'll be set in Spain, near a village. The British Army against the French. The fireworks will blast away as the battle begins. Rockets, firecrackers, sparklers, all falling like raindrops across Belle Vue." He waggled his stubby fingers in the air. "Everything will look hopeless, but then Prince Dandip..."